So when we're looking at the interview, we understand that it is an interaction between two groups of people. One, the interviewer or interviewers, and two, the interviewee. So in terms of this interaction, the interviewer will ask a question and the interviewee will respond. And it's particularly important to realize that when a question is asked, there is an intention behind what the interviewers are looking for in the response of the candidate. So when we look at this interaction, the interviewers really are giving opportunities for the interviewee to respond in a certain way that ticks the boxes. So specifically, what boxes are they looking for, right, that need to be really ticked? So we're talking about in the ATAR, your ability to study, right, and the amount of knowledge you've acquired throughout your high school career. In terms of the UCAT, we're talking about how, I guess, polished your evidence-based decision-making skills are, and that's important for making decisions for patients as a future health professional. But it takes a lot more than just these two things to be a competent and effective carer, okay, for patients in the future. There are other things, such as empathy, that is incredibly important, that changes the way that you converse with someone, for example. Okay, if someone is empathetic compared to someone who is less so or not, there's a huge difference in their ability to reach out and connect with them on a deeper level. Other things such as leadership is something that really is quite important when a team of health professionals need to work together to pull through a difficult job. Other things such as being very open-minded, okay, non-judgmental, even being honest, having a lot of integrity, also being self-reflective, self-aware. All these particular what I call traits are crucial for you to not only learn effectively during the schooling years of the programs, but afterwards to keep improving yourself so that you can become the best doctor or dentist you can become for the community that you serve. So going back to what I said before in terms of this interaction, the interviewers are asking a question for the interviewee to respond to. And the way that the questions are worded is that they give the interviewees an opportunity to discuss their thoughts, right, in response to the questions. But hopefully through that response, the interviewer is able to see aspects of these traits that I've just mentioned. And depending on how the response is able to describe these traits, maybe the interviewee talks about their personal experiences regarding empathy, maybe they talk about their personal experiences regarding teamwork, leadership, so on and so forth. That's when the interviewers are able to then realize that this candidate not only has these traits, but has actually spent time building it up and has understood the importance of the role they play in everyday life, and therefore have more confidence in that because this person is more, I guess, qualified in this manner, they're able to ease into the role of a health professional much smoother. So that's really what interview is about. And going back even more to what I said about interviews being highly dynamic and candid in nature, see, the thing is this, is that for these particular traits to be properly identified, you really can't have a assessment method that is very predictable, right? Because students will just prepare essays and whatnot and memorize them and go and just basically regurgitate it. And in fact, a lot of these traits that we mentioned before are used on the spot. So it's not like that the patient coming through, you got to be extra empathetic with them. Okay, it's not like the nurse comes and tells you, or the receptionist comes and tells you, or another doctor comes and tells you, hey, Michael, Dr. Michael, the next patient, you got to be extra empathetic, right? You just have to know it on the spot. So knowing when and how these traits will be used in real life, i.e. in a candid, unexpected way, means that the types of questions you get in the interview are often very diverse and unpredictable in nature. All right, questions that ask things such as, when was the last time you accidentally offended someone? Right, that is a very difficult question to answer on the spot. But here's the thing, if you can answer that and display your traits in an authentic, in-depth, and diverse manner, that is, at the end of the day, from your own personal experiences, observations, and learnings, it gives the interviewers even more confidence that you have what it takes for you to be a successful healthcare professional. So the dynamic aspect of interviews is that on top of being surprised with these candid questions, there is obviously interaction that occurs between the interviewer and interviewee. Some interview formats have less interaction, whereas others have a lot more. But that is also there for interviewers to help the candidate in getting to where they need to go with their responses, so that they're able to, again, give them secondary or tertiary opportunities to further convey their traits so that they can be as desirable as possible. But furthermore, the interview is clearly a opportunity to assess communication skills. You could talk about me having good communication skills all day, but until you're in a position to have to communicate in this interactive dynamic setting, then that's really put to the test. So what we're really understanding the interviews to be about is an interesting and unique assessment that looks at the candidate and sees whether or not he or she possesses certain traits that are deemed to be essential, right, for medical and dental professionals, and assessing them in a way that also mimics the environment in which they will be used. And depending on how many of these traits that you're able to convey through your responses and the quality of your response, that will give the interviewers a certain impression that you are, let's say, for empathy, 10 out of 10, right? You are, let's say, for honesty and integrity, 8 out of 10. And that's how interviews are actually scored. So it's really not as subjective as people make it out to be. And it's really not, oh yeah, I like you, you like me, and we'll work together fine. It's really about making sure that you come across as a suitable candidate. So suitability is something I really, 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 really want to emphasize here. Right, so specifically, if we want to dive in a little bit more about what these traits are, I've got 5 groups of traits that I want to share with you right now. Okay, so you can have a better idea of what the interviewers are kind of looking for. And it's not like the interviewers are necessarily looking for all 5 in one question. They're usually more selective in terms of within each of these groups, specifically the traits within them, which one of these they're after. So it's more like a small grouping, more focused and targeting way of assessment. But long story short, there are 5 groups. The first group is what I call attributes. So attributes are inherent qualities in which you possess that influences the way you execute a task. Right. So these attributes are things that you possess through, how you've been brought up, the kind of experiences you've carried out, and therefore learned from and improved off. Okay. So specifically, empathy we talked about already, honesty, integrity. Another one, maturity, responsibility, open-mindedness, non-judgmental. Okay, these are all fundamental attributes. So the way to think about it is, well, if you are non-judgmental, compared to someone who's not as non-judgmental or who actually is quite judgmental, what is the difference in your actions? Quite a big difference. So that's one part. Another group is what I call skills, right? So skills, when we're talking about skills, we're talking about the ability of an individual to execute a task to achieve a desirable standard, right? So we're talking about the skill, the ability of someone to do something. So we are more so talking about aptitudes, specifically processes, such as the process of communication, so effective communication. Another common one is problem solving, right? Solving problems. Another one is teamwork. Another one is leadership. Another one I would say is reflectiveness. Reflectiveness is incredibly important as you're able to learn on the job and you're able to fine-tune your ability to find out your weaknesses and fix them. And the final one I would say is super, super, super important is your ability to actually learn. And not only learn in the classroom, but learn across the board in different environments. So those examples are, again, skills. The third group is what I call motivations. So motivations are driving forces behind why you want to pursue medicine or dentistry. Those are the reasons that get you up at night, right? Thinking about, the UCAT, the interview, your ATAR, and what gets you to work harder than anyone else. And, motivations are basically, if you like I said, driving forces that propel you to look at medicine or dentistry as being the careers that provide you the best opportunities to fulfill your values and goals in life, right? So now we've got to talk about values and goals. So those form the fourth and fifth groups. Values, specifically, are the philosophies in which you've grown up with and that you live by, and that's how you go about everyday life. So one example of value would be treating others like how you like to be treated. Very important. Another one would be possibly serving those who are less fortunate. And these values, aren't necessarily medical, right? But they are they determine the kind of person you are, and you act upon these day by day. And besides values, okay, you also have these goals. Goals in life, and the goals stem from the values and the motivations, in that you see being a doctor and a dentist as the best way for you to live your values so that you can achieve whatever you want to achieve in a greater, more personal, more impactful way. And because of the skills that you've currently acquired and the attributes that you possess, you think you can do a really good job, okay, as a doctor and as a dentist. So goals in life, from a career perspective, maybe things like I want to eventually work in rural Australia, okay, I want to serve the Indigenous population. It could be the fact that I want to practice in this manner, in this way, whatever it may be. I want to do research, whatever, okay, but everything is very much aligned. So when I ask you a question in the interview, it's an opportunity for you to display, okay, some of these things. Not all in one go, because you'll never have enough time. But you got to be really mindful of the specific type of opportunity you're given, so that you're able to realize, what are they looking for? And from that, be able to match their expectations by coming across as that suitable, aligned candidate, right? So that's really what it is. So later on in the following videos, we'll talk about how to actually build your responses so they're top notch, and how you can always adapt to candid questions so that you don't get freaked out and surprised. But at the same time, be authentic, be who you are, be confident in what you have to say, and really be happy to be in the interview and want to engage with the interviewer. All right, so this is just an introductory video to how interviews work and what interviewers actually look for. But hopefully by now you're getting a better idea that interviews are just not like a meet and greet. Okay, as long as I'm myself, I'm fine. Look, you have to be yourself, but often a lot of times people find it really difficult to talk about themselves extensively. Right? That's it. See you in the next video.